What's the haps, yo? It's your girl Bone Queefa here. What the fuck? No, but seriously, I've got something very interesting to talk about today, and that is, what is the real problem with Call of Duty? Now, just so we're on the same page here, if you didn't know, I've been playing Call of Duty for about 10 years now. I started with Call of Duty 4, and I've played every single new Call of Duty game since then, and I've also gone back and played every single old Call of Duty game since then. And if this wasn't already obvious enough, I am not paid by Activision or any of the Call of Duty developers to say anything good about the game. I am not sponsored by Call of Duty, and I have not received any form of payment from them, whether that be Call of Duty points, actual money, and I might as well just say this now, I have absolutely no sponsorships. The last time I actually tried to go out of my way to get a sponsorship was when Call of Duty Ghosts was out. I had roughly 400,000 subscribers, and I sent an email to Elgato because I wanted to get sponsored by them. If you guys don't know, Elgato is the company that makes the capture device that pretty much everybody uses in order to record video games. The sponsorship didn't really work out because they wanted me to incorporate guitar in the video somehow, which wasn't necessarily the worst idea. I just didn't know how to incorporate guitar into a video about a game capture device. It just didn't make sense to me. So even though I can do this, didn't see how to make it work for a video. But just because I don't currently have any sponsorships, it doesn't mean that I'm not open to the idea. I would still have no problem getting a sponsorship from Elgato, Razer, Call of Duty, Battlefield, or CSGO. It's just the likelihood of that happening is not very high. So yeah, I just wanted to make it blatantly obvious that I'm just a long-time player of Call of Duty and that I'm not sponsored by them. So that brings us back to the main question, what is the real problem with Call of Duty? I remember when we used to think that the biggest problem with Call of Duty was like Last Stand, fucking quick scoping, trick shotting, motherfucking noob tubing. We thought competitive was gonna kill Call of Duty like it killed Halo, and now our biggest problems with Call of Duty are supply drops and the futuristic setting. Now, even though most of these are pretty valid but controversial points, I don't necessarily think any of these are the main problems with Call of Duty, especially since most of the older problems with Call of Duty got taken care of, to some extent.
MLG quick scopes! Oh.
I just realized I have syphilis on my face. But for the sake of relevancy, let's focus on the newer problems with Call of Duty. The first thing being the futuristic setting. I do think this is a pretty important fault with the franchise. I just don't really get the whole trying to make Call of Duty a sci-fi shooter thing. It seems like it's clearly being done for mass market appeal. I feel very confident in saying that if you had a focus group of Call of Duty fans who've been playing for over 10 years, and if you brought them in as a focus group to play Infinite Warfare, if they had to give their honest feedback, they would shit all over that game. And that's because when they think of Call of Duty as a brand, they think of World War II shooting games and modern military shooting games. The whole push for future warfare and having a sci-fi setting is them just doing market research. They've been making games like Advanced Warfare and Black Ops 3 and now Infinite Warfare because they think this is what's going to sell. They've clearly invested some money in some market research and they think this is where the future of shooters is going. But if you look at the sales of Call of Duty over all these years, you'll see that it doesn't add up. It's really hard to dispute this because it's just the facts. Call of Duty sold the most when it was in the modern era and nothing has outsold Modern Warfare 3. Black Ops 2 came very close and that's because it was still a good game. It was only slightly in the future and it was still very believable. Now, if objective facts and sales aren't enough, let's look at the subjective community feedback. Infinite Warfare got fucking dislike nuked. Even though no one's seen actual gameplay yet, just the fact that it's in a futuristic setting has turned people off. No matter where you look, whether it's the Infinite Warfare trailer or the Battlefield trailer, anywhere on the internet, the general consensus seems to be that we're tired of future Call of Duty games and we're happy to see Call of Duty 4 getting remastered because that's when Call of Duty was good. Especially since that's when the Call of Duty franchise broke ground into the modern military FPS genre. Now, when you look at the feedback for Battlefield 1, it's crazy overwhelmingly positive. And that's because Battlefield 1 is going to take place during World War I. So all I'm really trying to get at here is that if Call of Duty in the next couple of years does not go back to the World War era or the modern era, they're gonna be screwed. It's going to be a very serious problem if they don't realize that this is hurting the franchise. And honestly, it's gonna be really hard for them to see that because even though their sales aren't doing extremely well, their micro DLC sales are doing phenomenal, which is the next big problem I want to talk about, which is supply drops and COD points. Now, as you guys might be aware, there's been some drama going around about Call of Duty YouTubers getting COD points for free from Activision to promote supply drops. Honestly, who gives a fuck? I feel like a fucking prepubescent middle schooler just talking about drama. But I'll say this much. Again, I have never been personally paid by Activision and I've not received any COD points. So to anyone who's been saying big Call of Duty YouTubers have been receiving COD points, please fucking chill. I didn't get shit, and honestly, I wouldn't care if I got COD points. Who actually gives a fuck about COD points? If I wanted to be sponsored by Activision, I'd be wanting to play the game early and get early access to DLC. I don't give a fuck about these supply drops, man. And it really fucking sucks because apparently these Call of Duty YouTubers who are getting COD points from Activision got it when the supply drop system was actually not bad. They got their COD points when the supply drop was still cosmetic only. But regardless, I had the common sense to know that this supply drop system could get fucked, and it did. But ultimately, I think the whole reason why people have a problem with Call of Duty YouTubers accepting Call of Duty points as a sponsorship in the first place is because they didn't disclose it. To the extent of my knowledge, the only two people who are transparent about this being a sponsorship was some French YouTuber and FaZe Rain. So good on those motherfuckers for being honest about it in the first place. But to anyone and everyone who received COD points from Activision who wasn't honest about it in their videos, you fucked up. You really did a disservice to your fans by not being fully transparent and telling them the full truth. And again, I have no sponsorships, but if I ever do get a sponsorship, I'm going to make it blatantly obvious that I'm sponsored. It seems like every time time someone gets a sponsorship and they're not open and honest about it, something fucks up. So yeah, I'm just letting you guys know that if I ever do get a sponsorship, I will tell you. But regardless, this is still not the main problem with Call of Duty. There's nothing inherently wrong with accepting a sponsorship from a company, especially if it's for a product that you actually use and love. But the reason why this is a problem regarding COD points is because the supply drops are not a good product. And this shit really sucks because last year these Call of Duty YouTubers were promoting a product that was actually okay and then it became terrible over time. I'm really not trying to bring any hate or drama their way, I'm just saying that the situation that they're in sucks. I think it's pretty fucking safe to say that we didn't know the supply drop system was gonna get fucked up, and the fact that they didn't know really puts them into a bad situation. After Advanced Warfare, I knew there was a potential for it to get fucked up, but not this bad. But yeah, as far as it goes for Black Ops 3, I don't plan to spend any more money on supply drops, and if Infinite Warfare has supply drops regardless of how good they might seem from the start, I'm going to be very, very cautious. If Infinite Warfare fucks this up, this will be the third strike. But regardless of the future Call of Duties, and regardless of the whole supply drop system thing, I don't think that's the big problem with Call of Duty. I just don't think it's the real problem with Call of Duty. The worst problem with Call of Duty is that it's so successful and so influential that tons of other games are trying to be more and more like it. And that wouldn't be such a bad thing if Call of Duty was still like Call of Duty 4 or World at War, but it's just not. And it really does kind of suck because Call of Duty is so successful and has made such a name for itself that game developers want to do anything they can to make their game more like Call of Duty because that's what sells. So if that holds true, that means we'll be getting more futuristic FPS games and more games with supply drop systems. And no one wants that shit. I think the fact that new games will try to emulate what Call of Duty has been doing recently is really bad. As a whole, that will have a much more significant and dangerous impact on the FPS genre. So yeah, that's what I think the real problem with Call of Duty is. What do you think it is? Let me know what you think the real problem with Call of Duty is by leaving a comment. I have a feeling this comment section is going to be a massive shitstorm, but I will do my best to read it and hear you guys out. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, make sure to drop a like, and I'll see you guys later. Imagine Battlefield with exosuits.
Shut the fuck up.
Imagine if CSGO had case-exclusive weapons.
Shut the fuck up.
Imagine if Club Penguin had penguin points.
Please, shut the fuck up.